Good morning. Welcome to Trader Forum's Broker Scorecard webcast. My name is Lou Knox. I'm the Executive Director of Trader Forum, and I'm joined by my colleagues here at the Trader Forum team, Brooke Lowenhar, Annabelle Plumtree, Sarah Hegan, Alex Beveridge, Barbara Baumbush, and Emily Veccarelli. And we're going to be spending the next half hour, 45 minutes, talking a little bit about the new study available from uh, Trading Technologies. And we're going to hear from a couple of their folks who'll tell you a little bit about their new broker scorecard, which you've probably read about in the press over the last week or two. Before we do that, though, I'd like to give you guys a heads up on some upcoming Trader Forum events. Make sure you can all take advantage of those. So, uh, Brooke, if you'd put the next slide up, thank you very much. So coming up pretty soon, actually, later next month, we're going to be running the Trader Forum DC tour. We'll take some Trader Forum members down to Washington, DC. It's being co-hosted by the Healthy Markets Association and Ty Galash. Many of you will know him. And we'll meet with staff members of the important Senate and House committees with oversight over U.S. equity markets. We'll also speak to SEC commissioners and staff. And that's going to be on February 26th and 27th. The 26th, we're just going to do dinner the night before. All the meetings are on the 27th. So it's really just, 2/3 of a day. We'll be there in the morning and early afternoon. March 24 to 26 is the Trader Forum Annual Conference. That's in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And the Trader Forum Equity Trading Summit is November 11 and 12 in Coral Gables. And of course, International Trader Forum is September 9 through 12 this year in Barcelona. The European Fixed Income Trading Summit is September 9 and 10. Asia Trader Forum, our annual Asian equities meeting in Hong Kong, is June 11 through 13. On June 11, we're going to be taking a side trip to Shenzhen, and we'd love for as many of you as possible to join us there. Shenzhen's the focus of a lot of interest now because, of course, the PRC is trying to construct this greater Bay Area around the Pearl River estuary, linking all the cities in one big financial and industrial center, and rather than just focusing on Hong Kong. The Fixed Income Trading Summit, that's our annual U.S. Fixed Income Market Structure meeting. That's going to be October 2021 at the Park Hyatt in Chicago. And Trader Forum LATAM is also going to be in Coral Gables on November 12 and 13. If you'd like to register for any of those events, just get in touch with Brooke Lowenhar. Brooke, why don't you send your email out on the chat for people so they can see that? And some of these events are available only to full members of Trader Forum. And if you're not a member, we can certainly get you information on how to go about joining. We'd love to have you. So I'd like to introduce our presenters now. And so we're going to hear from Peter Weiler, who's line of business head for data and analytics at Trading Technologies, and John French, who's product manager at Trading Technologies. And so first we'll hear from Peter.
Thank you, Lou and team. It's great to meet with all of you, whether it's your morning, afternoon, or evening. And we're very excited to present today. And what we'd like to talk about is Broker Scorecard, which is a new product at Abel Noser and TT. And many of you may know who Abel Noser is from the equity space, maybe less familiar with trading technologies. So we'll probably just start by giving you a little bit of a primer on them, and then get into the presentation. I'll start the first few slides, and then I'll pass that along to my colleague John French, who's our product manager at TT Able Noser Solutions, to go over some interactive screens to share with you today. So just in terms of an overview, Trading Technologies is an OEMS, very synonymous with futures trading. So roughly, depending on the contracts that are traded around the world, they can be anywhere from 15 to 25% of the volume in a futures contract. Abel Noser, we're actually coming up on our 50th year, believe it or not. So the firm was started in 1975. Abel Noser has focused on trading analytics literally since its start, and was also very instrumental in creating a metric that's very ubiquitous today, called the volume weighted average price methodology, and that was created literally back in 1985 by Gene Noser. So in 2016, there was a management buyout that happened at Abel Noser that I was part of with a few other partners, and then we were acquired by TT in August of 2023. So their vision really is to bring to bear a multi-asset platform, and the most important part of this was really to augment their trading solutions with really unique data sets and analytics to improve the cost of trading. So of course we have the analytics, they have the execution platform, and it's certainly something that we've been working on hard together. And aspirationally, we want to bring together all the content onto the ecosystem of trading technology. So at the moment, we're divided into 7 lines of businesses, futures and options, obviously being the flagship business, the largest business, but also fixed income, compliance, surveillance, algorithmic trading, data and analytics, FX, and then finally platform services. So from sort of the front end to the back end is where we're moving forward. We've grown tremendously organically, as well as we've made a number of acquisitions over the year to sort of fill in the gaps in our offering. So in terms of the broker scorecard, I think it's important to just give you a flavor. Again, it's in a short period of time, but the statistics and some of the methodologies that we've used to create the data that we have. So what we do is we receive data, each and every day from our clients. That profile can be institutional, buy side. They can range from hedge funds to large institutional mutual fund families, registered investment advisors, and they've been sending us data going back since '85, and we have a depository of data that actually goes back to about 2010. And what we do is we receive market data from all around the globe, very comprehensive market data, and we marry that with the trade data to create particular calculations, benchmarks, absolute costs. And what we look at roughly in the equities markets globally is around 15 trillion, and that's USD. When we start to look at the other asset classes, we're up in and around the area of about $45 trillion. So, in looking at brokers in terms of thinking about the comparisons, we not only want to understand where they are providing liquidity, but we also want to be able to benchmark them to like trades. And we're deriving both implicit and then also explicit costs versus a number of metrics. So, for example, if you're trading in a particular region, you'll be able to look at the broker that's ranked in terms of principal traded, but also to take a look at the quality of the execution, as well as looking at the explicit commission rate that's being paid. And what we can do is we can segment the data in many different ways. So if you wanted to look at a particular broker and how they were executing a trade in mid cap names, you can go ahead and do that. There's a myriad of ways that we can do it. We have limited time today, but John will share with you a few sort of use cases and some segmentation of the data. One of the challenges of doing this was essentially trying to harmonize the naming conventions of all the data. So if you look at the lines of code that we get, and we see just in this period of time, what we looked at was about 8,000 different naming conventions. But that was really for the common names of roughly about 400 brokers. So, for example, somebody may report to us on the buy side. Some will just provide a number, so we won't know who the broker is, but most will provide a name. But that name for a Bank America could be B of A, it could be Bank America. Believe it or not, we're still getting Bank America noted as Merrill Lynch, and that obviously that deal happened a long time ago. So we needed to go ahead and do that. There were other sort of anomalies out there. There are, at least in the U.S., there are some investment managers, for example, who have brokerage departments too. So we certainly needed to move that data out of there. So by working with with leading technology, we were able to do that. We've tried that with other queries in the past, and it wasn't until the last year or so that we can do this. The brokers are ranked, as I said, in segments. So if you wanted to start to think about, a top-down analysis, it would start with, with regions, countries, capitalizations, but then moves down to even more granular detail. So things like venues, algo strategies, wheels, and et cetera. And one thing you will see, I guess maybe Lou, a little spoiler alert, but we will be providing for 2024 in conjunction with our friends at TraderForum and II, a 2024 broker rankings, and you'll be able to see that in sort of a higher level format to take a look at.
Yeah,
So
I should have said earlier, Peter, sorry, that so Trader Forum will be posting excerpts from the Broker Scorecard quarterly on our member website. And again, that's a benefit of membership. For members of Trader Forum will have access to that information. Sorry, go ahead, Peter.
yeah, no worries. Thank you, Lou. So, in terms of looking at the broker scorecard, we recognize obviously there's a number of products out there. There are certainly IOIs where people can see statistics. There's also areas where you can take a look at particular brokers that may have trafficked in a particular region or security. But I think what's important as well is we're not only adding that we have the context of where people have the axe, if you will, but also what is the execution quality, both implicit and explicit. So I think you have the ability to really see those particular segments, and you have the ability to try to access the liquidity, and also you can start to look at those implicit costs of your or explicit costs of your peers. So if one broker is trading in a particular country and maybe you're paying them 15 or 16 basis points, there may be others who are like you, perhaps maybe paying 10 basis points. So you have the ability to take a look at that and have a conversation with your particular brokers. One thing we found here, and John will get into this momentarily, but it was interesting when we were looking through this to find what we would call sort of boutique brokers who specialize in maybe a particular niche market. They may be local brokers out there that maybe even the brokers themselves are using. But we did find some names that were at least interesting to me in some of the more emerging countries. And what we've also felt when we've talked to people is particularly when they're far away from a market, they may just default to perhaps maybe one of the big boys for whatever reason. But really, in a number of cases, depending on the different sector or what have you, we may find that there may be a specialty broker or sort of a middle tier broker that not only has a lot of activity in particular sectors and names, but also has execution quality that's strong. In terms of the brokers, I think what you're going to find from the buy side is you'll probably see them being able to go out to you and talk to you about where they rank. And then of course, the brokerage game is clearly a very competitive game. So trying to pick up market share, whether it's even 1%, maybe it's 50 basis points, to understand perhaps who's ahead of you, who's behind you, and to start to think about how you can grow your business. And I think also, lastly, every broker I think out there has their own tool that they use where they will share with you their execution quality. They'll show you other statistics of where they rank. But this is certainly an independent assessment of where they stand. So without further ado, I think I'll pass it along to my colleague John French, and he'll review with you some of the screenshots that we have for you today.
So what you're looking at here is one example of a dashboard that you might use for a broker scorecard. Now there are two kind of main use cases that we see, two main vantage points, the buy side and the sell side, each of whom might want to arrange their scorecard differently as they would have different priorities. But I'm just going to highlight a few aspects of this dashboard in front of you. And the first is actually going to be in the lower right-hand corner, where you see that broker scorecard table. So one of the things we've tried to do here is streamline the metrics that we're showing so that only really the most salient data points are available so that you can focus on the outcomes. So the first thing that the scorecard will rank by is simply liquidity access. Who has the axe? However, if you so choose, you could sort by one of the other columns. And the other ones that you're looking at on the far left is commissions. That is in basis points by default. If you navigate to just the US, you could switch that up for cents per share, of course. To the right of commissions, you see what we call B, place strike / BP. That is the broker's cost from the time of placement versus the average price of the execution of the order. And to its right, so just in the center of the table, you see UB place strike 50. So that is the universe broker placement strikes 50th percentile or median. So the reason we do that is that some brokers specialize in trading very difficult orders, whether that's because they're a large percent of ADV or it's particularly a volatile time or whatever the case may be. So what that central column, that universe benchmark, allows us to do is put into context the placement strike for each broker so that brokers who do specialize in those more difficult trades are kind of evened out and brought into a more fair light. To go up to the top left, each of these charts is interactive. So as you click on, in this case, I've clicked on Brazil. The rest of the dashboard will filter to reflect your selections. I'd also selected mid cap in this example. And so that then means that all of the tables and the pie charts will be reflecting just the performance numbers for brokers trading Brazilian mid cap names. So as Peter mentioned, one use case could be for someone who's far away from a particular country and may not know the local brokers well enough to allow that buy-side firm to discover brokers they may not have been aware of. Another use case could be if you're a firm that's hired perhaps a new portfolio manager that trades in a particular market segment that the firm doesn't have much experience with. It can be a first introduction, or even just if a trader goes on a 2-week vacation or whatever the case may be, it can allow somebody to step in and quickly get a handle on who's available in that market. Another vantage point for this set of data is the sell sides. So in this case, what I've done is I've filtered down to a given broker, so just one broker here. And in the top right hand, what you're looking at is market cap and region. So each one of these orange bubbles is a North American market cap level, either small, medium, or large. If you hovered over the bubbles, it would tell you which one is which. And so what this could allow a broker to do is view by placement strike and interval VWAP where they might be performing best. And they could know how to then market to that particular segment, how to highlight their strengths. Similar to the previous scorecard, we're focusing heavily on both the placement strike as well as the universe placement strike. So in the lower left, I have a series of brokers that might be competitors to the broker highlighted in the scorecard. And then the highlighted brokers' performance just in this lower center graph. So as Peter mentioned, a sell side firm might want to know what the competition looks like, how they rank, what their market share is. And so just as with the buy side scorecard, a broker could navigate around on this map. They could apply other filters as well to sector, to market cap, and see how their competitors are doing, and importantly, how they're doing, and get a sense of where their strengths are. And finally, I want to go back to the buy side and kind of zoom in on one particular use case. So achieving best execution requires a lot of flow being devoted to methods that your firm is already confident work well for them. Well, some flow is reserved for trying out new methods of execution, new counterparties, to make sure that you're always able to find best execution. And it's just kind of the exploration versus exploitation balance. So on this chart, what you're seeing is commissions in basis points on the x-axis, a placement strike on the y. As you go further down, that's more costly. As you go further left, that's more costly. So this chart could allow a user to go in, and these larger bubbles, which reflect the ratio of amount executed, larger bubbles are more active. These are going to be a lot of your bigger names, your bulge bracket banks. But a user who is looking to experiment a little with some more niche brokers could navigate around this chart and find some of the smaller bubbles and learn who they could potentially turn to with some of that exploration flow. So with that, I will pause my presentation. I think we're ready to open it up for questions.
Sorry, my first question was which bubble was GBM on that
Sorry,
chart? I wasn't sure.
It was, let me see if I can pull that back up quickly here. It was this light blue one.
The big light blue one.
Oh,
that one all the way there. Yeah. Okay, I got it.
Yep.
Okay.
So in the tool itself, it is interactive. As you highlight, it shows you. And the other thing is, if you do navigate down to a market with fewer brokers, this legend would tell you. As you see, there's a scroll bar here, so you could click across this and get more detail that way.
Great. Well, so we'll take your questions via chat. Just send those over, and I'll read them aloud. But here's one now. Peter and John, what do you consider unique about the product, about your broker scorecard that'll benefit the institutional equity marketplace?
Sure, I can take that, and John, if you want to jump in and add anything. I think what is unique about it is, number one is that it is a pure institutional marketplace that we are looking at. I think also it's very important, and we have a lot of experience with it in scrubbing data and harmonizing data and ensuring that the data is not only comprehensive, but it's accurate. And you'll see in the UI, or you would see, is that we have the ability to segment the data really, any which way that you want to. So you have the ability to look at one of the largest universes out there globally in the institutional equity arena. And you can also use these composite universe scores to make relative comparisons. So when we look at that, we start to think about, we look at the symbol, we look at the side, we look at the percentage of ADV, as John said, and we look at the momentum in and around the trade. So every broker gets their own composite universe, based upon the aggregated amount of trades on a weighted basis. So we want to be able to not only look at the liquidity, but we also want to be able to look at, as John said earlier, what is the difficulty of the trade, and we're able to do that to a point where a unique composite is used, and there should be a tight distribution on those trades. We also have the ability to whatever information sent out really, and this can be delivered by an API as well through and mixed in with a disparate data set that you have. But we want to have that transparency along the lines of what were the conditions of the trades when somebody was faced with it, so people could look at that and they can make a proper assessment of not only whether they're getting, best X, but, really where the liquidity is. So sometimes, being traders, you have to make a decision, right? So for example, we have block trades that are out there. You may find people that are bigger in block trades, and you may not, the secondary might be the quality execution. Just really, you need to get something done. So we factor in a lot of those pieces, and we can segment the data in a lot of different ways. And as John shared, you do have this interactive tool that's very, very helpful.
Okay. How do you gauge the accuracy of the data, and do you have any kind of smoothing methodology you use for outliers or whatnot?
Why don't you go ahead and take that, John?
Sure. So there's a lot of gray matter that goes into gauging the accuracy. So of course, at any time that we run this data set, we go in, we explore, but we also have some controls. So for example, we have filters that make sure that number one, we have all the market data points we need for each trade before it goes into our universe. Number two, that we want to make sure that the average price is sane. It's within the day, it's high low. Not only for reasons of potential data errors, but also if there's a trade that executed in some way that doesn't make sense, perhaps after market hours, all in one block. That's not really relevant. It would skew the numbers. So we have a combination of kind of automated filtering and then some gray matter.
Yeah,
And then if you could just go ahead.
No, I would just add, and maybe this is maybe where you're going, Lou, but in terms of having, if brokers are sending us data, directly as clients, we'll be making those notations. We certainly, we need to be intellectually honest about this. So we don't want to have that type of skewing where somebody is a client and somebody looks and says, hey, XYZ broker, always shows up there. So we want to make sure that, again, we have that transparency into the data and who's contributing to the data sets.
So we do have a question here about sourcing the data. So could you just recap exactly how you get the trade data and from whom?
So we take in EOMS data from our institutional investor client base. Those institutional investors represent anything between, say, 100 million under management on the very small end, all the way up to some of the biggest names in the world. So for some clients, it'll be both the OMS and the EMS. For some, it'll be just one or the other. But then we work to normalize that data set through an internal tool we have that helps normalize whatever that data input is. And then, as Peter said, it's processed and matched with the market data.
And then you're also getting data from the sell side, though?
Yes, but that is not included in this data set. As Peter mentioned, if we had broker XYZ sending us all of their trades, that would be inaccurate to represent them in this data set.
Got it. Okay. Here's another question. What does it cost? And how do people pay you? Commissions, license fee, subscription, whatever.
Yeah, sure. No, so that's a great question. So, it is on a subscription basis. We do not have we don't have a broker dealer. So I guess people would have to ask their compliance departments about whether it could be soft dollarable. I guess one could argue that, it aids in the investment process, but certainly that's something that internally people would have to decide in terms of compliance and legal. We do have a rack rate, for both constituencies. What it's really based on is the frequency that we're delivering, and then also certain customization that we have there. So if we're provided with, if you want to have additional segmentation dimensions that are provided to you, that's certainly something that we can talk about really sort of on an a la carte basis. But if anyone's interested, or through Lou or the team, we could certainly send over some rack rate pricing to the group. And by the way, there, for the membership, I think it's important to note that there is a discount on there. There's actually a 20% discount to members.
Well, the members of Trader Forum certainly appreciate that. That's terrific. So what frequency, annually or quarterly, whatever, are you planning on publishing league table results, and what sort of league tables?
Sure. So we'll for anybody who subscribes, we'll be doing this on, on a monthly, quarterly, or semi-annual, annual basis, depending on how people want to consume the data. And again, that frequency will depend on the price. What you will get though from II is you will be able to see on a high level really who the quality brokers are in, for example, in the 5 regions, and maybe even a little bit further. But if you want to go granular, clearly you have a choice of frequency, and then you have a choice of certainly how granular you want to get with the information.
Some trades have to be benchmarked against the close. And so would users be able to view performance versus the close in your reports?
Yeah, so we as I mentioned, tried to kind of streamline this so that we only showed the most salient metrics. I think the close is one of those. And users are able to go into that dashboard and kind of customize the table by adding in the close. And of course, as we get more people interacting with this tool, if there's wide feedback for a metric that I'm not thinking of that isn't already in there, we can of course be flexible and add that in. This data set is built from our full trade data set, so we have access to anything that we would have in a normal TCA setting.
Hey, John, I think I saw, I don't know, Lou, if you saw it as well, but there was a question that popped up regarding a demo or trial. We certainly do that. So if there is interest in that, clearly get in touch, and we can share with you the entire interface and get a good sense of a lot of the different available dimensions that are out there, that obviously is well above and beyond what John shared today.
And can you narrow down the broker list by percent of daily volume?
Yeah, so similar to the metrics, any dimension that's available in a TCA setting could be pulled in. So whatever there is a use case for makes sense to bring into the broker scorecard.
Okay.
So that's a good question, and I think that was from earlier back, if I understand. So you're talking about basically IPOs and maybe secondaries and follow-ons. Yeah. So we identify those. They're tagged as such. So what you can see in there is if there is a secondary that's out there, and again, that could be a skew, right? Depending on the size of how much you take down in a secondary offering. So what we do is we map that data, and you can basically break it out, and you can see how much of that particular volume could be associated with whoever that sponsor is, whoever that secondary sponsor is, or IPO sponsor. In that case, if you have a secondary offering, what we don't want to look at, or we can look at, is actually the price of where you receive that. What we would rather do is, we could look at the price that you received it, but we could look at the prices of that particular day or that area. But we would want to segment them out, because you could be advantaged or disadvantaged depending on, again, where that pricing is, right? You get a secondary at $10 and it opens up at 13. We want to be able to benchmark it in a couple of different ways. And if you are selling it that particular day, obviously we're going to look at the prices during that particular time period. But we want to be aware of that, so it doesn't change your numbers either adversely or in your favor. If there are no more questions, I just want to thank everyone for attending today. Again, whether it's your morning, afternoon, or evening, and we look forward to meeting with you and seeing you, and as we did say, the 24 rankings will be available shortly. And in the meantime, if anyone would like to, take a look at a demo for certain, just ring us up. And I thank you so much.
Okay. Well, in that case, as I say, we'll be sending you a PDF of the slides. It'll have contact details for Peter and John in there, so you can certainly send questions to them directly if you have them. Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing all of you at our upcoming events. Okay. Bye-bye.